Hello.
How you doing, man?
It's all good. Good, good.
Uh, uh, dude, are you fucking stoked? Are you ready to do this? You ready to get this coaching going?
Yes, yes, super excited.
Yes.
I watched the CVT Summit, the DreamHack finals. So I'm all hyped up.
Oh, nice, man. Was that like earlier today?
Yeah, like I guess
Okay.
early evening my time. So
Nice,
like,
nice. I actually didn't see it. Uh, but dude, fuck yeah, dude. All right. So I guess just really quickly, just go ahead and give me that quick rundown of race league and kind of generalized playstyle of what you want to aim for, and that's how I
yep,
guess we can
yep,
start off that way.
yeah. So Zerg player, Diamond, just actually got promoted to Diamond 1 just earlier today. So I guess I'm ready for the losing streak that takes me down to Diamond 2. But still, been hovering around Diamond 2 for some time.
Okay.
Um, and I guess I would like to learn to play like a reactionary macro standard style. That's kind of what eventually I would like to play with, mutas and spellcasters and all that stuff. But yeah, I'd like to be at least decent at the game first.
Yeah, no, it makes
Kind of
sense.
myself.
All right, sounds good. That's in my opinion, that's like the best way to play the game, anyways. For Zerg is being able to play macro reactionary. So I mean, I approve 100%. The best way to do that, to really learn how to do that, in my opinion, would be like to basically get comfortable with, like, first just get comfortable with one build in each matchup. That's just like a solid overall good build, and then learn how to scout properly. Like really, like hammer down your scouting and like not just about like, oh, make sure you do timings at the right time, but really knowing how to read somebody's playstyle, like about what it actually means. And then finally, it would be after that, it would be like, okay, well now once you're good at doing a standard build, once you have good reads on what they are possibly gonna do to you. After that, the final piece would be like, okay, well now how do I put that all together into like actually making a reactionary play? So, yeah, no, that's perfect. What matchup do you want to focus on today mostly? Is ZvT
Um,
or
yeah, CVT. So I think statistically, probably CVP is my worst matchup.
okay,
But I meet a lot more Terrans than I meet Protoss. So I
okay,
think CVT is, and it's a close call. Both of them are kind of shaky.
sure. I would say ZvT right now is it's definitely like one of the like I would run into a lot of Terrans myself too, and I feel like it's just because Terran's back, man. It's back. It feels like it's back at full power. It's fucking annoying to deal with. So yeah, that's perfect. We can jump into that. Do you what? Last question I have for you, I guess, is do you want to do this through like some replays you might have prepared, or do you want to do some more live coaching where we like kind of create something for you instead?
Yeah. So I picked out like I have like a couple of replays which are essentially like the last Terran games I played that weren't like
Okay.
complete
Okay.
derps. Like I think I happened to win both of them, but I don't think I particularly deserved to win.
All right.
And one is bio and one is mech, so I guess we can look at one of them and
All right.
maybe we'll make it to the other. I
Yeah.
have a few questions about the matchup too.
Okay. Sounds good. Uh, are you last? Or I guess I have another question. Are you on the European server right now, or are you on the NA server?
Yeah. I'm on EU.
Okay, I'm jumping over. All right, so yeah, dude. By all
Cool.
means,
Thank you.
no matter what, whenever I'm talking, even mid sentence, feel free to always interrupt me. If you have a question that just like, because I don't want you to forget your thought and wait for me to finish. If you have a thought, just definitely just blurt it out, and I'll make sure I answer it for you.
Cool.
And yeah, man. All right, I just logged into Europe. I guess if you want to, the probably easiest way we could do this is you can try joining channel ViBE, just ViBE, and if I can. There you go, perfect. Okay, easy.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. And when it does, it makes it so easy. I don't know why. Sometimes whenever people do that, you just can't see each other. It's weird. Alright, so I made you leader. I guess we can just go ahead and just pop into the replay. Then before you start the game, though, make me the lobby host so I can control the timers and stuff.
Ah, cool. So I create the lobby and then I make you host.
Yeah, just right click my name in here.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is this the I mean, we'll figure it out soon, or I'll figure it out soon, but is this, if you know, is this the Mech or the bio one?
This is the bio.
Okay.
Bio one.
So in my opinion, in ZvT, for just getting introduced to this matchup, you should have kind of like a build that can kind of like bounce either way, where it can go down the path of dealing with Mech or go down the path of dealing with bio. And I think a great build that can be able to kind of like be versatile enough to do that is, you know, it's pretty standard for most Zerg players to do this, but it's more like a 3-base speedling expand. So you,
yeah.
Okay. And then
yeah, I tend to.
Or go ahead.
Very good. No, yeah, I tend to go for like hatch gas pool third, and then at some point I want to decide whether I need a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren. I think that's one of the first branch points where I get super confused and don't know what to do.
Okay, yeah. So I mean that's good. The opener sounds good already for the most part. So far you're doing it fine. I like your build so far. We're kind of I'm definitely gonna cruise through the opening a little bit faster than I normally would. Like I'm still kind of looking to see if you're doing shit right, but just throw it out there just to give you some positive feedback here. I mean you've already double stacked each mineral patch, which is fucking great. A lot of people don't do this. Maybe it happened automatically, maybe it didn't. Either way, I don't know if you actively do this, but if you don't actively do this, try to always make sure you do. But it's done this game, so that's very good. I'm very very proud of you. That's actually so good for your economy. And then your build order, the timings, everything seems great. You're also not ripping off your mineral line, which I love, because you're prioritizing your minerals because you're going to be doing a mineral priority build anyways. So I love it. Your build's great so far. And you even have a drone going to behind your third mineral line. Yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah, this is a trick I learned from your B2GN series.
Yeah, that's perfect because so this guy's obviously not going for. I'll tell you how you can already tell what he's doing, and I'll tell you in 1 second. But it's so good for your build the way you've done it, just opening in general defensively, just because of the fact that.
Oh man, I don't remember this. This was a very early 13.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, that drone. I like that you make the drone at 20 instead of an Overlord, just because you can get there before the Reaper comes over. You can hide it. It's perfect. But yeah, so what he's done so far, if without even looking at his base, okay, I don't actually know what he has in terms of like just looking at the replay, but looking through your vision, if I saw this, I would fly my Overlord to the cliff just like you are. It would probably die unless he somehow micros his second Marine, then it could live. But if his Marine literally attacks the second one that's coming over, if it attacks your Overlord right away, it should die. The Overlord should die. But even if it dies, you should know that this is 3 command center. This is double Marine opener, which means it was this build most likely, and there could not be 2 Marines as fast for it to be command center first. So you know it's not command center first. You know you should there's a 99% chance that it's 3 CC, because even though you haven't seen the second CC, it's super weird if someone would build their first expansion command center like there instead of at the actual mineral line, just to try to be like.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's you can just kind of like assume, okay, we're dealing with a 3 command center Terran who went barracks first, which means this dude has like no gas. Like you should not be expecting anything aggressive. So a way you could react to this, if you wanted to, if you want to make some type of a really crazy reaction here, I would say definitely what you could do to react to this is you could now just go ahead and take a third base faster and like just delay zerging speed and just take a third base. Just spend all your larvae on drones. Like I know you made the 4 lings and you made them 6 seconds ago. Which we'll go back to back to that point when you made the lings, just to see what you saw with the Overlord right before it happens. So you saw a Marine, but you already started the lings before that, so that's totally fine.
Yeah. I think I tend to like pretty much default to making 2 queens and 4.
It's okay.
As soon as I can.
The main reason why I say it's okay is because it's really, really hard to read on every map that's a little different exactly when a second unit out of the barracks can pop out, because this is his second Marine, by the way. This is not his first Marine. So but a Marine has a faster build time than a Reaper. So realistically, what should have happened is if you wanted to do, if your Overlord would have left your base, which I'm not saying it didn't, but if it leaves your base on this map, like perfect, which this map is mostly a standard map, so most standard maps work like this. Your Overlord leaves your base right away, goes to his base, and then right as your Overlord can reveal the natural, like as it gets to the point to where it can see the edge of the command center at the natural, the second unit out of the barracks, like the Marine after the Reaper, would pop out and start shooting your Overlord. So it would give you time to get back to the cliff and hide, and you'd be fine. The fact that the Marine's popping out of the barracks, the second Marine's popping out of the barracks, literally, like, you know, as you are not even able to see the ramp yet, you haven't even seen the barracks yet, and he's already running down the ramp over to your Overlord to come shoot it. That is a weirdly timed Marine. That could be the first Marine. That you might see this and go, oh shit, he might have got Marine first. But the thing I think is okay for you that you made Lings is that's a standard reaction to Terran in general, and like you did it right as the Marine came out of Fog of War, so it like that's fine. Like you just did it as a standard play, and you would have had to reacted within a second to not do that, and it's super fast. It doesn't matter. That's kind of like if you made the Lings, that's just solid play in general, because you're just playing for the Terran matchup, and 4 Lings is not going to make or break you overall. It's not like, oh well, you're fucked now. So it's fine.
But as sort of a potential reaction, if I do see Marine, I don't need the Lings that urgently.
I would say for now, the fact that you made them is still correct, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because it's really hard to tell on each map what is appropriate for timing of the second Marine. And right now, the fact that the second Marine is out this fast, it guarantees that there couldn't have been a Reaper made, only because it's so far forward with your Overlord so far back. If your Overlord is moved right away, if that makes sense. Because, again, a Marine has a shorter build time than a Reaper does, so he can make 2 Marines faster, which is why it's catching you so far out. Whereas if it was a Reaper, it's impossible for a Marine to be out this far this fast. For a second Marine follow-up after the Reaper. Like, your Overlord would be deeper into the base by the time the Marine would pop out. So, if you don't really feel comfortable with reading that kind of a situation, then obviously do not just be like, oh, I'll skip the Lings. Like, if you just make 4 Lings, that's totally fine. Because, like, worst case scenario, which is still really good for Zerg, if he does something really greedy, you can always use those Lings to scout. And just, like, go sit at, like, a 3rd base or whatever. Like, it's not actually, like, awful to have 4 Lings. It's not that big of a deal. I just want you to know that you can tell this is already not a Reaper. It shouldn't be a Reaper based off of how far forward the Marine is, if you really, really look at that. Where the positioning is. And then furthermore, when your Overlord is getting shot and you see another Marine now come back, you know, obviously that's his first unit now, and it looked fishy, right? You're like, okay, this looks a little weird. How the second Marine, how like his Marine is just awkwardly timed. It's a little weird. But now a second Marine comes back, and now you go, oh, okay, makes sense. Just because you see that second Marine come back, that tells you this is 2 Marines out of the barracks, which means there's no gas investment there. There's no Reaper investment. There's no add-on investment. It's impossible to make 2 Marines that fast and make an add-on. So you know there's no gas investment for the fact that there's 2 Marines. That's what that tells you. But then also you see a 3rd command center, like we talked about earlier, which even furthermore puts you in that realm of no gas for Terran. So there's 2.
Yeah.
Or go ahead.
No. So I guess he's just out here Overlord hunting, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he just wants to deny your scouting because a lot of players think that if they can kill your Overlord, that they can make you confused. They'd be like, well, you don't know what's going on now, do you? But you do, because you can already tell what's happening out of his buildings if you really pay attention to the details, which is, you know, it's impossible for him to have gas at this point because you could not make 2 Marines this fast unless you made 2 Marines one by one the second the barracks was done. So his build has been depot, barracks with command center, and just Marine, and now command center again. That's what his build has been. And the only way you can afford a build like this, is if you literally do not have gas. So this gives you 2 ways to react to this as Zerg. Number 1 is you just play greedy as fuck. That's the safer option probably because it's the more defensive option, which is more guaranteed. It's like you're gonna get your economy off if this guy is this greedy and you want to go for like a fast third yourself. That is one option you have. Another option you have is you just ripped your drones off of gas to get ready to take your third base. What you could do as well is you could put your drones right back on your gas and make not only Zergling speed but make a Roach Warren or make a Bane Nest and go for it all in. Either one of those options would work against this kind of a play. Because number 1 is he can't throttle your drones right now. And Zerg, if you just play greedy, if you're like, oh, you want to play greedy? Let's play greedy. Zerg will always play greedier than Terran. Like, Zerg is the greediest race in the game. If both races just go, you know what, I'm not going to attack you. You don't attack me. Let's both be greedy. Zerg is always the greediest race because it can just make workers faster. And then, if you want to be all in here, it would be really, really hard for Terran to hold that. Simply because he has no tank. There is no Widowmine. The only thing he has is access to Marines and bunkers. And obviously he's going to make a gas eventually. But your timing would 100% hit him before he had a starport or tanks. So it would be all bio units, maybe in a bunker. And if you had Ravagers or if you had Banes, it would be easy to break that down. Your Overlord should die before it gets to the cliff. But I mean, from this point, like I said, you should just feel comfortable about knowing what he's already doing. So if you're going to play greedy, here's a way to kind of tell you how I would alter your build if I was going to play greedy. Because playing aggressive is easy. It's like, oh, just make gas. Maybe make a few more drones for now while you wait on speedlings to finish. Make your tech, and then go do it all in. Maybe even take a second gas with those extra drones you make so you can do it all in properly. And take your third base either way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I never all in, but I seldom all in.
Sure. Oh, it would be if you're gonna play reactionary. Right now, it'd be perfect.
It's mostly when I'm angry, I'm like, okay, I'll all in.
Yeah, okay. It makes sense.
Or go for muters or something.
Yeah. But if you all in this game, it would just as a reaction, it would be perfect because you scouted it. He like revealed his plan to you the second you took your drones off of gas, and if you put them right back on gas, you would have a well-timed all in that could fuck him over. Because you saw that shit right away. Now the thing is if you didn't build a Zerg command center there, and let's say your Overlord died how it just did, and you didn't see the natural, you didn't see the third CC, you just saw 2 Marines. That would be a lot harder to be like, okay, well now we know what he's doing exactly. You would just know he didn't invest gas into the barracks. He could still go for a gas into a quick factory or whatever.
Yeah, I think if I saw Marines and didn't see the CC, I would probably be making links to sort of.
No, I would say just always. Yeah.
Sort of out of fear that he might have like 4 Raxes or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he could do as well, right? He could definitely have a mini barracks. But I would say if you just make the 4 lings, it's never a bad idea. I just want you to know that if you know how to read the Marine, you could skip it, but if you don't ever skip it, even in like once you get to like GM and shit, it's actually fine. The 4 lings are not bad to have in the early game because, again, what they allow you to do is if your Overlord did die and you didn't see a 3rd CC, you could go scout the front door of his base, and then you could see what he's doing. And if you're like, wow, okay, you have a natural now. Let's say he has a natural and he's making a bunker, and then you see like 4 Marines one by one, super fast. Like you scout it the first time and you see with the Zergling, you're like, okay, 2 Marines, really fast. Then your Ling comes back again and sees 3 Marines, comes back again, sees 4 Marines, and you're like, you are just literally not making an add-on. Like, if that's what he was going to do, or whatever. Or if he only has 2 Marines, let's say you run up the top of the ramp and you see no add-on physically on the barracks and your Ling dies. You're like, okay, he doesn't make an add-on. Maybe you see a 3rd commander on the high ground, or... Lings are definitely useful scouts. That's all I'm trying to say. So it's okay. You have 4 Lings. But, now, if you're going to play the greedy reaction, okay? What I think you should do... Here's the weird part. What I think you should actually do here is actually... go double inject on your hatcheries. Normally, I always tell people, oh yeah, definitely go for a tumor and an inject. That way you can have a tumor going from your natural towards your 3rd so you can cover it properly. Your queens can be mobile and all that shit, and have an inject in your main so you can just have more larvae. But if you want to play the greedier response, you could literally double inject right now and just spend all your larvae on drones. and Overlords. Like, why not? The reason why not, is because if you're not going to make safety lings, if you're not going to make like an extra like 10 lings once you have speed, which is the standard way to play this, because there is no way your opponent's going to be aggressive right now, you could easily get away with that and you could not get punished for it. So that is definitely greedier than playing safe. So it's like cutting out the safety nets of your build, basically. And like, you still would get speed, but I'm glad you actually built your third before speed, by the way. I'm very proud of you. That's what I said you should do, and you did it. So that's good shit.
Yeah, I usually look for an excuse to do that. Like,
oh, that's good. And now look at this shit, right? I love that you're scouting with these 4 lings. This is wonderful. You even killed an SCV just now, which is fucking great. That's perfect. Like, you're playing like up. I would say the creep tumor is a little. If you make it as just like a standard response, that's totally fine. But if you want to actually play macro reactionary, the answer to what you're dealing with right now, if you're not going to keep mining gas, is greed. And do everything as greedy as you fucking can. So the fact that you went for a creep tumor, I would say, is too safe at this point. Because you're playing, like, he's playing extra greedy and you're playing standard. And that's not really going to be a proper reaction. If someone plays extra greedy to you, there's only one of 2 answers for you that you really should have. It's massive aggression to punish massive greed, or also you just match it what he's doing with your own style of massive greed. So if you would have made double inject and then you make another queen after you spend all your larvae, like at your natural. So what you could do with your first queen at your natural is you inject the hatchery and then immediately run that queen to your third base, so that it's sitting like a new queen started as the inject starts, and then you have your second queen sitting at your third. So when the third finishes, you have triple injects on all 3 of your hatcheries. And then you can start like another queen again, and then you can start spreading your creep. So your creep would be pretty fucking delayed, but it doesn't matter because this guy is not going to Hellion harass you. So instead what you'll have is
sorry, you apparently cut out for a while.
Oh, okay.
So
sorry.
heard anything up until
All I'm saying is if you just maximize injects, so you inject the natural and then you immediately run that queen to your third, so it's sitting there waiting for the third to finish, and then you have a new queen start at your natural, and then once your queen at natural is done again, you inject all 3 hatcheries. You just literally inject nonstop, and then once you have more than 3 queens, then you can actually start spreading creep with those new queens beyond 3. And the reason why this makes sense is because the reason why you creep spread is so that you can defend pressure, so your drones don't die. But there is no pressure in this game. This guy is super greedy, and he's not going to attack you for a while because his whole plan right now is to not die while he plays really greedy. So even though this guy's like, you know what, I'm going to go for triple command center, he's making double bunker as other parts of the wall. Yeah. This is like extra fucking defensive. So the fact that you scouted this now is wonderful. The fact that you killed an SCV is amazing. That's even better. You're just slowing him down little by little. If you just back off now with your lings and you go, okay, this guy's making double fucking bunker, spend all your money on all of your larvae, make all your injects, and the second you're going to make money way faster than you normally would. As soon as you have a little bit of extra, still don't saturate your gas. Just go take a 4th base, and then saturate like your 4th gas. Or once you have a 4th base, then take like your gas again in your main, and maybe go to a layer with with a Bane nest as like a standard reaction. But like basically what you see here is all the Terran timings of pressure are like delayed now by 3 minutes. So if he can normally attack you by like 4 or 5 minutes, get ready to be attacked this game by like 7 minutes or so. Ish. Like it's very late now for what Terran can do. Like for harassment. And for real timings, it'll be like he'll max out faster this way. If he doesn't really get throttled as well, if you don't really attack him, he will definitely max faster. But the developing timings will all happen slower because he invests overly into economy early. But you'll also max faster if you play greedy too, so it's fine. So yeah, I would say the only thing I really have a problem with so far is your creep tumor is being a priority. I think is incorrect if you're gonna play extra greedy. That's all it is. Otherwise, you're playing great. And you have a queen at your third, which is great. Good shit. And you inject. So all you've missed so far is 1 inject, and that's not that bad. At the end of the day, it's not that bad. It's still safe, I would say, because I mean you're gonna have creep that's gonna be fast. You're gonna cover your third quickly with it, which you already have. But I guarantee this dude will not leave his base and attack you until at least like 6 or 7 minutes, if he even tries.
No, I think how this game shakes out is that Terran does like very little for a very long time.
Exactly, yeah. He can't do anything. Because the only thing he could attack you with right now is like 5. If he was still making Marines, he could attack you with like 5 or 6 slow Marines. And that's like just like 2 Queens could beat that. So it's not threatening at all, really. So again, like what I would say for sure, I love that you're making drones still. I love that your speed's almost done and you're not making lings. I really do not want you to make lings at all. Because every little piece you do of the build, if you make it safe, it's just going to slow you down more and more and more, which is going to allow something like what your opponent might do, where he plays extra greedy, and that will allow it to work because you're not investing enough into aggression to like kill him. You're just investing enough into it to be defensive when you don't need to be, if you do it. So I would love it right now if you take a 4th base, or like just be again like fucking super greedy, because he cannot stop you for that. You take your natural gas again, or once your natural is saturated well, and even on your 3rd, you have your main gas saturated again. That's fine. Yeah, your build's super standard. And again, I don't think super standard play is the worst way to play it out here. Simply because you're doing a great job of executing it. And even if you're going to play super standard, I do think you could still beat a lot of players in general who are going to play this way. It's just I want to really enlighten you that you don't have to play like that. So the fact that you're making 14 lings right now, you don't have to make those right now. There's no real need for that at the moment, because that could have been again 7 more drones, and you could have with those 7 drones, if you made those, you would just again have money faster. If you didn't make your gases as fast as you did at your natural, let's just say you instead of going for like a standard build, you instead go for a super greed build, which is the goal of a greedy build is get to max saturation on every base as fast as possible and never dip out of that. So if you want to take your gases, you would have had like 18 drones on your natural. So you would have, when you made gases, you would have not lost the 16 out of 16. And then you would have, you know, the new drones that are made to saturate those would be after you're already fully saturated on all 3 of your bases, instead of ripping off if you might rip off. Because you definitely don't need to do that right now. And then, like I said before, if you take a 4th base would be huge here. Because he has 3 base, and the golden rule of Zerg is, if you want to play greedy, you always, at the bare minimum, stay 1 base above your opponent. So getting to a 4 base saturation would be really important in this game, if your goal is greed. Yeah, like these lings are just going to chill here for a while for you. So that, like, you know.
Yeah, I honestly don't think they contribute much.
Yeah, well, like it's
I recall correctly.
They're standard. They're standard. Like this is what you would make in a standard game, but this is not what you would make in a reactionary game when you see super fucking greed. It makes no sense to make these lings if you see your opponent is like ridiculously greedy. I'm actually really glad you showed me this replay, because most people don't realize shit like this. Like it's very true. Like this is like what we're talking about right now. This is like, I would say honestly, like upper masters coaching, for the simple fact of like how to read someone, and this is something that you'll grow into. But like if you're gonna make a response, you have to kind of like understand the game plan about how to do it, and just know that if your game plan is greed, bare minimums of greed, like you can definitely be even greedier than this. Just know that, okay? But this is the bare minimum of what should be considered greed for Zerg. How many bases does Terran have? Okay, I'm gonna go +1 on that, and I'm gonna saturate that many mineral lines. That is the bare minimum of greed. So what I would have wanted you to have done for real is you could have had you could have resaturated your 1 gas after a while. Like once you have like 2 or 2.5 mineral lines saturated, take your gas and your main again, like put 2 back on it, that's fine. But I would have wanted you to have really saturated 4 mineral lines and then take more gases than 1 gas. So like this gas at your natural, I would have loved it if all 8 of these drones, because you have 6 in the gas and 2 got sacrificed to mine the gas, if they still kept your mineral line fully saturated, which would have been 18 out of 16 right now, you could have ripped one of those drones off and you could have taken a 4th with it, which would have made you be still fully. You also could have made the 3rd a little while ago if you delayed the bane nest and also didn't build the gases, and also delayed the layer just a little bit longer. Like take your 4th first, and then once you have like all your larvae spent, and you're like, okay, I have a little bit of extra money. Now I'll take my layer. Now I'll take my bane nest, because it'll happen pretty fast. And right now, you could actually have a layer that's probably just starting right now, a Bane nest that's just starting right now, which would be totally fine because you're not going to need it early. And you'd have a 4th base instead that's probably like 50 seconds of the way done, or like 40 seconds of the way done. It'd be like well into production right now. It would be almost finished, and you would have drones starting to saturate it. And you could have that base fully saturated as well, mineral line, just the mineral line. That could be fully saturated by probably like 515, 520. So you'd have a crazy fucking drone count right now. For like your mineral income would be about like 3,300 or like 3,400. And then the way you could fix that is you could take, if you wanted to, you could take like a 5th base just for like a macro hatch, but it could be at your 5th base. You could take a macro hatch, and then you could start like keep making drones, and you could explode your gas and be like, all right, well, I'm going to keep making drones all the way to like 80, 90. And now I'll take every single gas so let's say you take the rich gas. That's a double gas right there. It's worth double because it gives you literally twice as much as fast. So you'd be taking 6 gases all at once, because you'd be taking your 4th base, 3rd, 2nd, natural, and other main gas, as you have, like, you know, all the drones in production. So you're literally on like 80 or 90 drones, and you go gas, 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 gas. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if the slings were drones and kind of, I guess it wouldn't really take that long. Like, you can slam out drones pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. Like, the more drones you make, the faster you'll make money, the easier it is to spend your larva, and the quicker it'll be to expand. The only reason why you don't have enough to expand right now is because you invested into things that cost a lot of money and also a lot of gas early. Well, it's not so much gas, but I mean, they tie up your economy. So you could have actually not even saturated your gas in your main for a little bit longer. That also would have been fine. Like, you don't need to be super safe here, because again, all your opponent's timings are super delayed. And if you just use that as a drone window, that's huge. You can still, after you saturate your mineral lines, you can still take your gases, and you will not be attacked by anything in that time frame. Which is, again, and if you're like, I don't know how to read this, how do I know how to read this? It's always, like I said, bare minimum, 1 base above what your opponent did for Zerg. Because Zerg can always make shit faster because of larva inject, and because also each larva spawns every 10 seconds, which is what that equates to. It sounds weird, because if you click on an egg where a drone's being built, it has a 12-second build time. But because of the way larva works for Zerg, and you can have multiple eggs at the same time, a drone's build time in this game is really about 10 seconds, not 12 seconds. Whereas a probe and an SCV, it doesn't matter. It's always 12 seconds, 12 seconds. Protoss can kind of fix that as well with Chrono Boost, but Terran is always 12, 12, 12. It has no like sped up way to make workers. It just has mules.
Oh yeah, they just come out regularly.
Yeah, so if you can make drones every 10 seconds, and you also have the access to larva inject, that is why the golden rule of Zerg is you can always be 1 base above your opponent, which is 22 workers above your opponent. Because you can afford to make the excess, especially if we're talking 3 base greed. You could easily get away with 4 base greed yourself, you know, to match the Terran's 3 base greed. Because the more bases it is, the easier it is to pull off. Because the more bases you have, the more larva injects you'll have. Because if you think about it, the more bases you have, the easier it is to saturate another base. Because the game does not work in a way where it's like, for 1 base, it's 5 workers. For 2 base, it's 10 workers. For 3 base, it's 15. It always stays the same. It's 22. And that number never changes. So the more bases you have where you want to do another +1 above your opponent, however greedy they're going to be, it's super easy to get that next base saturated. Because if we're like, oh shit, this Terran went 4 command centers right away, let's just hypothetically say he did that. And you want to do a 5 base greed, okay? To get your 5th base saturated, if you have 4 bases being injected, that's going to be so fucking ridiculously fast to saturate that 5th base. So easy to hit that extra drone count that you're looking for. Like, if hypothetically that was the case. If the Terran's going to go 3 base greed, that's super easy to react to with a 4th base, because you have 3 bases being injected, which is literally just 1 round of larva inject, plus all the automated larva that would generate throughout the inject as well. That is actually 6 larva per hatchery. That is 18 larva just for the for the first round of inject plus also the first larva round of automated larva, because just so you know, every 30 seconds a hatchery can spawn up to 6 larvae if you don't fuck up your larva. So 16 out of 22, that's basically all your drones right there. So just a little bit of extra larva after that and you're done already. But that's already that. But here's the crazy thing: is 16, or sorry, 18 is what it is. 3 hatcheries can give you in 30 seconds, and that's already more than you need to saturate the mineral line. So if we really think about this logically, in 30 seconds for 3 hatcheries, you could saturate a 4th base, and like all mineral line drones, and have 2 overlords, which is what they would cost. So that's perfect larva to just fucking have a 4th base fully saturated, and it just takes you 30 seconds to do it. Once you're at this stage, which is so ridiculously fast. And like I said before, time is everything in StarCraft 2, and this Terran is not going to attack you until at the bare minimum around 6 to 7 minutes. And if he does attack you 6 to 7 minutes, it's not going to be a big ass all in. It's going to just be like, oh, he's got a Banshee. Now he has Hellions. Like, if he's going to harass you then, it's going to be super delayed. And or either that, or he's just not going to attack you at all until he does a real timing. And a real timing would not hit you until probably 8 minutes. Honestly. If he attacks you. So you have all the time in the world to get this off. Again, because we're talking about reactionary play, so that's why this would make sense.
Yeah. So I don't really remember exactly, obviously, what I thought during the game, because I didn't even remember the third, that it started with 3 CZs. But I think I understood as much as, obviously, this is a very economic opening from Terran. I'm not feeling like threatened by anything.
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously I did not really see like what corners that I can cut.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
So that's great. That's really cool.
Yeah. And now you have an idea, and it's again the baseline for greed is don't prioritize gas, prioritize mineral lines only, and don't prioritize creep, prioritize larva. So because that also makes you prioritize mineral lines. Only have the extra prioritize your gas, and the extra prioritizes your creep. So once you have more queens than hatcheries, that queen spreads your creep, and once you have more drones per mineral line on every mineral line you have, with the baseline of you count his base count and add 1 to it. So once you have 4 bases, add more gas. Once you have more drones, like oversaturated mineral lines, and once you have more queens than hatcheries, start doing your creep. That is the baseline of greed, simply put. And that is going to make your fucking build explode so fast compared to what Terran can do. And if you're like ridiculously greedy, you can be like, you know what? No, you're at 3 base. I'm going to go fucking 5 mineral lines before I fucking make gas. That's now dipping into like greedy. Because your build is, like I said before, it's not bad. Like, just playing standard against players like this, it can still work just fine. It can. Even up to, like, GM, it can. So I don't want you to think that, like, oh, you're just playing really bad right now. I don't think you're playing bad. You're playing very standard. And if you're unsure about what's going on, this is always a good fallback. Because your standard play looks pretty solid. I'm not going to lie. Like, you had, like, 66 drones by 6 minutes, which is great. You have static D in your base, because right now at this point I don't disagree with you that you made spores here, because you made it when you're rich as fuck, and at this point normally you want to take spores around, I would say 430 if you're making blind spores, as like if you're like, oh, the Terran looks like he went 1-1-1 standard play, there's Hellion spoken me, I don't know what's following it up. It could be possibly Banshee, they might even go into Cloak, it could a little bit later it could be going into BCs. I haven't been able to scout him yet. If you make blind spore, 4:30 is a great time to make it in a standard game, and you made your spores this game in like around almost 6 minutes, which is perfect if you're gonna make blind spore, because if his build's gonna be delayed because he went triple fucking command center greed, your spores should be delayed as a response to potential pressure. So I mean, I fucking your spores are great. I love your spores, they're wonderful for standard play. But this is what it is though. Is your build is full standard play, and just knowing that if you want to cut corners and be greedy, like now you have some answers to that. But yeah, like I love that your standard play looks this good though. This is fucking really good for you, because I actually feel like I basically feel very confident for you. I'm praising you right now. I feel very confident for you to get to Masters League, because You need to be able to play like this to get to Masters. Your build does not look shitty at all. It doesn't look as reactionary as it could be, but it doesn't look bad. The only thing I would say, if this was standard play, the only thing I critique you on right now, really, would be your baneling mess timing of your baneling speed. But I don't. This game's just. Or go ahead, you go.
I was just saying that's something maybe we should talk about that a bit later, because that's definitely one of the things I want to ask about.
Yeah, if this
timing of defensive structures and the upgrade and.
So. If this was a standard game, baneling speed is a bigger priority than 1-1. So that like if this guy was gonna do like standard bio timing or something like that, you would definitely want to fucking have that baneling speed as fast as possible, because if you skip baneling speed and you delay it, and your layer's done, and you're like, oh shit, it's been 60 seconds, and now I'm gonna start baneling speed. If your opponent does a standard marine tank timing, which is pretty fucking standard, or like a standard marine widow mine timing, your bane speed will not be done by the time you get hit, and you will probably die. Because that upgrade is
really
it's required to not
really
die.
Painful with waddling, like stupid waddling baneling.
Yeah, because if he has stim pack and you don't have you don't have the ability to match that with bane speed, he's never gonna get connected on, and you're just gonna lose everything. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, your build. I love that you're still droning though a little bit. But now, like right as I say that, obviously you start making lings, and I would say now your build still is just, again, it just falls into that realm of standard play. So just knowing the baseline of greed is super important. We can kind of like drop that now. I don't have to beat your head over that the whole time. Because I mean, but you made another safety round of lings and you just droned again. I fucking love it, dude. It's a little bit later than I would have liked to have done it, but I love that you did it either way. It's just you're not as greedy as you could have been, but you're still playing greedy as fuck. I love that you have 98 drones right now. That is you're okay. You would have had 98, but you're making buildings, which is totally fine. You have 90 plus. That's fucking amazing. That's super good. And now you have your tech started. You have your infestation pit started. As you're almost like your infestation pit. Honestly, if you want to perfect it, I don't mind when you took it. That's fine. But if you want to make it perfect, you should be starting infestation pit as you start 2-2 on your evo chambers. Because if you do that, the way it lines up is a 2-2 upgrade is still slightly longer than the combination of an infestation pit and a hive together. So if you do those paired,
so hive is ready when I can
exactly
ready so I can start 3-3.
Yeah, it'll be like hive's finished, and then like 10 seconds later, if you time it perfectly, where you're like 2-2 infestation pit, and then the second the infestation pit's done, immediate hive. If you do that, like about 10 seconds or so after the hive is done, or like 15 seconds, your 2-2 will be done, and then you can go 3-3. But it's just a good combination to go, okay, infestation pit and 2-2 start together. That way, if you fuck up for like maybe 10 seconds or like 5 seconds, and then you also, after the hive's done, 5 or 10 seconds, it gives you like a little bit of wiggle room in case you fuck up your, to remember to check your upgrades, where you can still catch it pretty quickly and still do it. That's just the generalized idea. Because right now, if for the fact of how you took your infestation pit, if it's just for the purpose of going hive, and let's say you start the hive right away, your hive is going to be done a good, like, we're talking like maybe 50 seconds or 40 seconds before the 2-2 would be done if you start 2-2 right away. And also it's nice to have your it's, in my opinion, it's nice to have infestation pit bound to 2-2 as well in a standard playstyle, because it's like a checkpoint reminder for the pairing of you associate upgrades with tech together in your brain, and it's just like it's like a lizard brain thing where you just remember it together. So you don't sometimes be like trying to do so many individual tasks and you might forget one every once in a while. It's like a pairing now, so that's why it's good.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because hive tech is one of those things where I don't really know what timing I have. I just throw it down at some point when it feels good. It would be better to have it. And
another pairing you should go for, which I can see didn't happen in this game, is your Hydralisk Den should be going down at the same time as your Evo Chambers get thrown down. So 1-1, as you make Evo Chambers, that should also be layer tech, whatever it is, whatever you want to go for. Like if it's going to be a Spire or a Hydrogen or whatever. And then 2-2 started with Infestation Pit. So That's also why I would say that you should have prioritized the Bane speed, and then if it's Mech, you prioritize roaches, and then once you're ready to make evos, that's when you throw down your tech. So that and also
when do I make the evos then? Is it like when
ideally
I can afford it after Bane speed, or do I wait a bit?
Ideally, you want to make your evo, and if we're talking about a standard play, which is what your build looks like right now, your build looks mostly standard up to this point, other than like the very end of it was pretty greedy. But in standard play, you make your evos and your hydrogen when you just took all your gases, all of them. So when I saw you take the 2 gases at your natural, that's fine. That's for Ling Bane only. Only Ling Bane. No upgrades, no tech. The only upgrade you get is fucking Zergling speed and Baneling speed. Just the speed upgrades. But then as soon as you're like, okay, well, my mineral lines are all saturated, I'm ready to go gases 4, 5, 6 and take my 4th base. Once that happens, then you go Evo, hydrogen. Because the extra 3 gases you just took are going to be what's going to allow you to afford making upgrades for 1/1 and Hydra upgrades as well. And then I would say, honestly, unless you're getting hit by air units that like need to have Hydras to deal with it, don't even make Hydras then. Wait until you have like one of the 2 Hydra upgrades done to actually even start making Hydras. Because if you just invest a bunch of gas into baseline Hydras that have no upgrades yet, like they have no speed or range, and you're like, well, now I have 12 Hydras and I have 4 Banelings with Baneling speed. Like that's fucking terrible if you get attacked. You'd rather have, instead of 4 Banelings and 10 Hydras, you'd rather have 24 Banelings and no Hydras. And all those Banelings have Baneling speed. But yeah, your overall gameplay though is not bad. It's definitely above Diamond, I would say. Like you're pacing still really well. The only thing I don't like now is well, I mean you have an Overseer there though, which is good. I was gonna say, and you have a Zergling at the other one. The only thing I didn't really like is I don't know, like there's been no follow-up scout as to like what the Terran's doing.
Yeah, I'm pretty blind about what's going on in Camp Terran.
Yeah. I would have loved it if maybe, like where the Overseer is, maybe you leave a Zergling there too, just like you have at the 3rd, just for the scouting of, are you going to take your base over here? And then also maybe fly the Overseer into his base, just to kind of get a read on what the hell he's doing. So you can be like, should I be going mass Ling Bane still? Or, like, what if he's going mass tanks and Blue Flame Hellions, right? And you're like, well, fuck, right? Okay, that sucks. So, just a little bit more of a read on top of, like, composition. But all you got to do, all you should be doing right now, I'm actually asking you a question first. And then I'm gonna tell you what I think you should do after. I just want to kind of like make your brain think about it for a second. At this point in the game, with how this game is developed, how would you think you'd want to, if you were in this game again right now, how would you play it out right now from this point here?
I mean, I guess I would want to try to prevent this 4th.
Okay. That's perfect. That's literally all I was looking for. Yeah, that's correct. I would say the only thing you should do is never let him have a 4th base, ever. Always wait for him to take a 4th base, because the fact that you have committed to 5 base economy guarantees that you've allowed him to fortify 3 bases of his own. So trying to break his 3rd is greedy. Trying to deny his 4th is very acceptable, because the 4th has nothing at it. The only time I would ever tell you, oh yeah, okay, now you can also attack his 3rd, is if he tries to defend his 4th, which is super exposed, and you have an overwhelmingly good fight where it's like, okay, I just fucking rolled the Terran here. How about I now just keep pushing into his 3rd base? That is the only time you should push the 3rd base. Otherwise, just let him have it. If it's like, if you both kind of like delete each other's armies over and over and over, just let him have a 3rd and never let him have a 4th. Because if you can still spread your creep, and you can also expand at more bases, if you just never let him have a 4th base, you will mine him out, because you can see as well in your main base, you're about to lose like half your patches, and your natural is going to soon follow that as well. And that's the exact same thing for Terran. And the thing about Terran too is if you can actually contain the Terran on 3 bases for, we're talking like up till the point in the game where you're like at 13, 14 minutes, that's super good for you, because Terran actually mines out faster on those bases because he has nowhere else to drop his mules. in general, Terrans usually like to drop mules always at the new base. That way it doesn't rip all their minerals from existing bases that fast. So if you're not giving him the access to drop mules at new bases, and he's always having to drop mules at his existing bases, his third base is also going to mine out faster than normal. You got to be pretty quick though about this. If you do see a fourth base like that, you got to be pretty fast about how you do a timing. So like if you wait until it's already a planetary, that's a bit long. Like you should already have Banes being morphed in, and you should already be going to that base right now. So this is a bit of a delay. I love that you scouted though. That's good. But yeah, this is not assertive enough, I would say. And now you're not even going for the fourth. You're checking the other base. Oh, it looks like you're going to do a flank, actually. You're going to do like maybe an attack on his natural.
I've completely forgotten about this. Okay, yeah, this is going to be interesting.
I would say that this is a bit more of a risk. It's not a bad move. I would say it's a bit riskier, though. The reason why is because if this Terran had any type of a scout that saw this, where like let's say a medevac flew over it, or there was maybe a sensor tower just finishes over there on the other side above where his natural is, and maybe now he sees you coming down and he gets to react before you do it, or there's just like stray tanks or widow mines with a wall, it's going to make this counterattack possibly not be very effective. And if you've both played greedy up to this point, like I'm going to back it up to when you were at like 190 plus. Okay, so like 830, around 830, you have 15 larvae sitting there, and your money's pretty well spent up to this point, but you have 15 larvae, and you're pretty close to maxing out. I would say around 830, you have essentially maxed out if you just spent your money on, you know, trying to do that. But you don't actually launch this attack until about a full minute later. So you give your opponent a lot of time to catch up to you, that's the assertiveness, that's timing right there. And
yeah,
if you
that supply gap closed really quickly.
Yeah, and it's because you've both played greedy. Like you could have actually maxed out even faster than this if you would have really played really greedy, the way I was kind of giving you ideas how to do that.
Yeah.
But even though you played standard, like I said before, I wanted to reiterate a few times that, and I'll do it one more time. Standard play isn't actually bad, because you can see even though you played standard, you still fucking crushed him. You played a very efficient form of standard. Like your standard is really good. So you still have a nice juicy fucking lead here. But you got to be way more assertive about how you attack. And if you're going to go for that flank, I'm not going to, again, it's not the worst move in the world. It's not bad, but I think it makes more sense logically to go for the fourth. The reason why is because if you under invest an army into the fourth base of attacking him, there's a chance that he maybe has the majority of his army to defend his fourth, which is the most exposed base of his, and he might defend it because it's only half of your army. And all it takes for a Lingbane run-by to get shut down is a few well-placed mech units like widow mines or tanks with a nice wall. So if he doesn't leave his wall down and you have to blow up the wall, and while you blow up the wall, like tanks blow up all your Banes, and let's say he mineral walks his SCVs to his third base while he stimpacks his Marines to the natural, and he like catches a lot of your Lings before they really kill a lot of SCVs, there's a chance you might throw away a lot of units and not really gain a ton of damage. And then what that does to you is it allows the Terran to fortify a fourth base and set up a fourth base.
Yeah.
I would say that kind of attack would make more sense if he didn't have an exposed fourth. Like if he had a third base and he like that's already there, and he had that fourth base, like look at his third base right now. You see how there's like 3 command centers there? Let's say that's what you saw only, and you're like, this guy's ready to set up a fourth if he wants to, and he's got a ton of units there, and you're like, okay, well the majority of his army is here. And let's say you poke him just on the side of his army, and you make Terran go like, oh shit, Zerg's out there, and he scans you, and he sees part of your army, and you see that Terran's like, with the changeling, he's like over here, ready to defend the third base. Then you counterattack him with either like a Nidus in the main, or like that you're run by at the natural behind where his army is. And even though your run by is also probably going to encounter a few units, there's a higher chance that you're going to get some type of damage done there, because you don't plan on attacking the third. You just want to distract him at the third and have Lingbane try to run in and break the natural mineral line or whatever. That would make more sense then. But when you're going to break the fourth that's exposed, it doesn't make any sense to do it then. And if you did do a Ling run by then, much smaller army would be what I would suggest for you. So I'm gonna speed it up to when you did it again, which is about a minute after you were maxed.
Yeah, because I sent like
You sent a fucking
basically all
huge
my
chunk.
veins
Yeah.
over there, right? Yeah.
This amount of supply going for a counterattack is 4 pages of units. This is a massive chunk of army.
Yeah, that's it.
Like it literally should have been like
83 units apparently, according to my control groups.
yeah, like it should have been honestly like maybe 10 Zerglings and like 6 Banelings. Or like 16 Zerglings or something. Like something really tiny.
Yeah, I guess if they get in, that's enough to ruin the mineral.
100%, yeah. Yep.
Everything else is overkill.
It's exactly. This isn't supposed to kill his whole base. It's supposed to just wipe out a mineral line. And if he defends it, it's not supposed to be like, all right, well now my push is way weaker. Like if it should be one of those things where it's like it's so little that if it gets defended, you don't even realize it. You're like, oh, whatever. Like I didn't really miss those units anyways. It's not that big of a deal. But if it doesn't get defended, it's like, oh shit, this guy just lost a whole fucking mineral line. Wow, okay, that's really good. And then Terran's like dead then. Because yeah, your main push on the 4th is so tiny now. Okay, I'm gonna back it up for a second. And you also, like I said before, the problem here too was you waited until you had a PF, which is it means you definitely didn't have an assertive enough time here. You still killed it though, because he had his army in weird position. So I mean, it worked out that you killed it, but here's the problem though, is that you have no Ling Bane here really. You had a few Banes with the Hydras, but all your Banes kind of got depleted on killing the command center, and now you just have a bunch of.
He still has his like whole army.
Yeah, and now he's killing all your fucking Hydras. So this is opening you up to a counterattack now. You are getting a nice attack into his natural and his main, but this is turning into a base trade. Like it's starting to develop into some situation like that. So, I mean, that's not. If he turns around, that's good. If he doesn't turn around, he attacks you. That's bad for you, because if he goes and kills your base right now, he might actually just run you over repeatedly. And you actually pulled a lot of your units back to the 3rd. Which I'm not going to say it's the worst. I mean, I would love it if you didn't have these units here at all. But what just happened is like I said before, like a couple stray tanks and a wall. Like now your units are getting caught up all over the place. Like SimCity is kind of just everywhere on his first 3 bases. And his tanks are just fucking pounding your army that is in the counterattack. So he actually doesn't even need to turn around. Because his new, like, yeah, he took a lot of economy damage. But his new reinforcing units that are popping out of the command centers, or out of the barracks and stuff, they're going to be able to handle whatever's left.
Yeah, they're already paid for. So.
Yeah, and even though you just killed a lot of SCVs, this dude does have a fuckload of orbital commands, so he can probably just be like, cool, just drop a bunch of mules and we're fine.
He's got his little mule farm at the start.
And if he just goes for a counterattack right now, he could do that snowball effect where he just rolls your army over and over and over and over before it gets set up right now. So all you really did right there was you took a control situation and turned it into a gamble with a possible base trade, which it didn't need to go that way, because you overinvested into the base trade scenario there. And the Terran is going for an attack. And if the Terran micros poorly here, I mean, you still might run him over. I would say that the Terran also, I'm not going to lie, he wasn't super assertive about attacking you either. And the higher level you get, if you do something like this, like I really want to make sure you feel sure about this kind of shit here. If you do a move like this, where the Terran catches all your fucking units like this, and he just literally, like, watch how long he waits. At just before 10 minutes, he catches you. It doesn't take him very long to kill your Hydras. But watch how long he waits. It's because he's dealing with the Banes in his base. He's freaking out. But if he just told his army, hey, group 1, attack the Zerg's expansions right now. Go into his base.
Yeah, like a move, then deal with the lane in the base.
Like he sits here, and sits here, and sits here, and sits here, and goes back, and waits, and now goes. That's 20 fucking seconds after. 20 seconds after he fucked your Hydras. If he would have just stemmed directly to your base, he could have already, 20 seconds ago, if he did that right away, he could already have killed your bottom right base, and he could already be marching into your banelings right now. because this many units is going to kill that hatchery in about 2 seconds. So if all your Banes were morphing like that, and this Terran was super assertive about pushing forward, I mean, if they morphed right there, they would all die before they finish. And then that's how the Terran would just kill you, like right now. So make sure you don't do too risky of attacks. Always go for like the guaranteed, like safer version, which is definitely prioritize on not letting him have a fourth. Don't over prioritize on trying to counterattack his base at this point when he's like, you know, exposing himself. Because all that happened there was really all you accomplished is you exposed yourself. Like, you did damage to his base, but this is scary about how much you could have died here if he was assertive. I imagine you're going to be fine, though, at this point, because he waited too long and he let your Banes finish. So now you're okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty scary for you. All right. I jumped out of that. So I gave you some ideas there, like a lot of ideas on how to break down that. Load up the mech one, and we're going to jump through this one really fast. I'm actually not going to look at your macro at all. I'm actually confident in your standard play for the most part. And we're actually kind of running short on time here. So
yeah. Maybe we should do questions and save them. I don't know.
Oh, if you want to ask questions, it's totally fine. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of how you play against Mech and give you some ideas on how to play against Mech better.
Look, I guess this is.
How about this? You ask me, like, I'm just gonna glance at your build, and you just ask me questions while I look at your build, and then I'll I'll just give you some ideas when I kind of see the end of the replay.
Yeah. So I guess we did cover a little bit. We did cover like when to get Roach War and or Baneling Nest and sort of timing of that. But I guess one thing I struggle with is knowing like which route to go, like telling.
So
is the Terran going to mech me or throw a bunch
this
of
is how
biomass?
this will answer for you. This will answer it for you very thoroughly, and you should always, if you're blind, always open with the Bane Nest, no matter what they're doing, whether it be a 2-1-1, a Greed, fucking Hellion opener, 1-1-1. Always open with the Bane Nest standardly. If you scout for whatever reason, let's say you get a Ling into his base, let's say a second Overlord is on the edge of his main, and you scout in and you see multiple factories. You could skip Banes if you see it early enough. But if you don't see it early enough, just always make Banes to start because they're the more versatile option. If you make Roaches to start and he goes full bio tank, those Roaches are going to get obliterated. So Roaches are not best for standard play.
Usually doesn't work so well.
Yeah. So if you just always if you can't figure it out, always open with Ling Bane. But as soon as you confirm, okay, yeah, no, he's going Hellion Cyclone. He's going, like, I scouted him early, and he's going literally, like, 10 Hellions and a tank. Whatever. You're like, if you figure out, okay, yeah, it looks very mechy, you can definitely make a Roach Horn instead if it's before a Bane Nest. But the proper way to do it is always when you take your layer, that's when you take your tech, whether it be a Bane Nest or a Roach Horn, if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, just take a Bane Nest, and then take a Roach Horn as you can react to it. And when you can react to it, you should have 2 scout follow-ups, okay, with Overlords. So always try to scout with Lings if you don't know what it is at all. If you can help it, like scout the door a lot if you can. Like you did this game, which was great. Like the last game, you scouted bunker command center. So that was good. I'm glad you scouted with Lings. Always do that. Always try to, like, every minute or so, or 45 seconds, try to, like, have a Ling check the door. Be like, what are you doing? If you don't really know what he's doing yet. And then you should have an Overlord scout if you can. Go into his base around, like, just after 4 minutes, like 4:15, 4:30. This will definitely tell you if he's going for a third command center or not. Because if you have a Ling checking the door, and if you have an Overlord checking the main, chances are very, very high you're going to see that third command center if he's going for one. Or if he's going to go for extra production, which is going to definitely tell you if you need to defend aggression or not. Like if you see, oh, he doesn't have a third command center, but he does have 5 barracks already on 2 bases with a starport and a factory, and those also have a reactor and a tech lab. Like, yeah, okay, you defend that fucking aggression, you're about to be 2 base timing, like, really hard. But if you see a third command center, cool beans, then now you know he's going to be 3 base player. Now, at 6 minutes, that's the second Overlord timing. Usually this can be done by an Overseer, because you easily should be layer by then. No matter if you're playing greedy or not. At 6 minutes, if you Overseer scout the Terran, if you're still not sure about what tech he's going for, guaranteed by then, you'll know what it is. And if you see, oh shit, it's Mech at 6 minutes, 100% make a Roach Horn then, and start switching gears away from Ling Bane and go into, like, Roach Roach Ravager, maybe Swarm Host, other units that can deal with that shit. And yeah. But ideally you should...
Yeah, I think my...
Or go ahead.
Yeah, I think I don't have a game of it right now, but I do get regularly murdered by various Hellbat pushers, and I think the indecisiveness about tech and not knowing when to put stuff down is
so you can deal with Hellbats with Banes or Roaches. As long as you have a standard amount of, like if you open up the standard way of having some queens, and also here's the other thing too is, I think last game you only made 4 queens. Actually, I'm glad you just said that because about the Hellbat thing. Because I think you made only 4 queens last game, and that is actually not enough for standard play. I think it was plenty though versus a greedy player. I don't know if you did that as a response to a greedy player. That was actually fine then. You don't need to go crazy creep spread if he's greedy. You can make queens later on for more creep spread later, which is cool. But for someone who's playing super greedy, a low queen count is not a big deal because queen count is usually for the purpose of defense. But against a standard player who's not going extra greed, the queen count you should try to aim for is more around like 7. So if you have like 7 queens, that means you could have like 5 at your third and still have 1 in your main and 1 in your natural injecting and possibly dealing with like a liberator. Because a lot of Terrans that go Hellbat timings like to do liberator counter pressure in a different mineral line. It is very common. So if you have 5 queens because you have 4 injecting, or sorry, you have 4 creep spreading and 1 injecting at whatever base he chooses to attack. 5 queens can deal with that initially. That can help buffer a lot of your army, and then your Ling Bane can definitely, like the Banelings can punch into the center of the Hellbat, and then the Bane, or the Ling and Queen then can clean up the rest. So you can still deal with the Hellbat timing with Ling Bane Queen. It's fine. You just need more queens if your standard is not 7 queens.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. I have heard the number definitely, and I think I tend to forget unless I see air, and then I probably make most response to that. So.
Yeah. All right, and then one quick tip: make sure you have 2 out of 3 overlords well placed. You should have a 3rd overlord in the middle between the 2 overlords, like down in the snow between all the ramps. So that way your queens can always be in position to defend the Hellions. Because I've seen
cover all the entrances to the bases.
Because I just saw your Lings try to fight the Hellions by themselves like 2 times, and you never want to do that. You want to only absorb the Hellions if they choose to run past your queens. And now, like I love that you're making the Roach Horn now. This is perfect. If you get any type of a read that he's going Mech, and I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who makes more than 6 Hellions is probably going to go Mech. 6 Hellions is...
I think...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I put the Roach Warden down probably because the Overlord at the pillar saw like a bunch of Hellions, and I was like...
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Too many Hellions.
Like, I would say it's generally speaking, if you have more than 6 Hellions, it's going to be Mech, because usually what will happen is if a Terran player is going to go bio, they're only going to make Hellions in the harass phase. So there's 2 signs that tell you this is already Mech. One is he's being defensive with his Hellions, going to repair them. Most of the time, if a Terran player is going to go Hellions as an opener and then they're going to go bio, they're going to become worthless as the game progresses because he's not going to keep remaking them. So he needs to kind of like kill your drones. The whole point of Hellions in a bio build is to throttle your drone count and throttle your creep as much as possible. But he's not going to come back to his base and just let you do whatever you want with drones and let you do whatever you want with creep, because his bio is going to be the follow-up. So the fact that he's coming home with them to repair them is a Mech sign. And the second sign is if he makes more than 6, it means he's over-investing into them now. He's making them for a long time. And if he was going to go bio, all this is doing is delaying his bio a lot more. Every time he makes 2 more, further delayed. Every time he makes 2 more, it's further delayed. So, and he's even lost a Hellion, and he still has 8. So this is super fucking slow on the bio. If it was bio, it just looks like Mech already. And if this Overlord you have on the right side of his base, if it goes into his base right now, which it is, perfect. This is perfect. So now you see it's a 1/1/1 opener with Battlecruiser, and there's a bunch of Hellions in your base with it.
And a PC.
Yeah. This is one of the, like, I mean, if we really broke this game down a lot more, we probably could have even seen maybe another way you could have seen it. But I think that your Overlord right here, if the only thing I could change, because I mean you're getting fucked right now, and if we if you make the Roach Warren at this point, the fact that you have no Bane Nest either or a Rochewarren, this is now that point where I would say it's a little scary, because if you didn't know, it should have been a Bane nest. That way you could have had Banes that could have absorbed the Hellions if they just dive your fucking mineral line. But if you did know, if we could have read it some other way that made it easier to go, oh yeah, no, it's Mech. Well, then you could have had roaches here instead. Because I will say, if you're making your whatever tech you choose to make at 5:30 or so, that's fucking late. Your tech should be going down around 4 minutes, like 4-ish minutes against Terran. That way you can have the answer to it whenever the actual attack comes at you. Because that BC so far isn't much of a threat, but all those drones that just died in your main base, that sucks.
Yeah, that was a massacre.
That was painful. And then I like that you got roach speed. That's very important. That's the most important upgrade, honestly, to get against Mech in the early game, against all variations of it, because it allows you to counter him if he goes crazy air, and it allows you to really be mobile about killing Hellion and Hellion Cyclone. And then he switches into bio. So this is where I would say, make sure you do. I'm going to back it up now really fast. So people play weird, right? People play weird in general. Not everyone's always going to do the same thing. And the 6-minute scout is important, because look what's happening right now at 6 minutes, okay? So if you had an overseer flying in his base right now to see what's going on, we can see there's a reactor factory, there's a tech lab, the barracks, there's a tech lab starport. This guy has not chosen anything, really. He has not chosen his third base. He has not chosen his follow-up tech. He just has 1-1-1 still with 2 base. And there's a possibility of it. There's a tech lab on a barrack still, so, I mean, this could be for upgrades of Marines, or it could be for Marauder with Hellion. Like, there's options here. But look at his money. The only reason why he's not doing it is because he's focusing on attacking you, and he's just totally neglecting macro. But he has enough money to choose whatever the fuck he wants to do. He has 800 gas and 800 minerals. He could be like, I'm going to make 3 factories. I'm going to make 3 more barracks. Like, he could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, okay, so normally the Terran
would have more
production here, and I would know if I had to know.
If the Terran does not have his production down by 6 minutes, well, obviously you're gonna see that and be like, okay, well, what the fuck are you doing? Just scout him again. If you have an overseer, you could easily leave or move around his base. If nothing's here to kill it, might as well just stay here. But like, the point is if he doesn't have his stuff yet, it's just inefficient by Terran. It's not good by Terran, because it's just bad. Then it'd be like you not having your tech, which is gonna be kind of what happened in this game. But yeah.
Yeah. We're both kind of.
But like you can see now, he's making his barracks. So I mean, he does do it eventually, and he has 1,000 minerals. So it is late, and it's not as good. But if you saw, barracks follow up, it tells you, okay, cool, it's bio. And then you could, so even though you would have made a Rochewarren, because it looked like it could have been Mech. I would not have disagreed with you if it looked like Mech, and you're like, wow, this guy really likes his fucking Hellions, and he's also going BCs. I'm making roaches. If you would have had like 8 roaches, you could have dealt with the Hellions, no problem. And then if you would have scouted a bio follow-up, you could just stop making roaches at 8, go back into Ling Bane, and you'd be totally fine. So that 6-minute scout is huge at telling you, am I going to go Ling Bane Hydra, or am I going to go for a roach style? This guy.
Yeah, so that means you've.
Or go ahead.
No, that means you've answered my question, I guess, by aiming this first, and how do I know what to do? Well, I do a 6-minute scout.
6-minute scout is huge, yeah, because like this dude's playing very all in. Like his third. Look at his third base. He just finished it at 11 minutes, and it doesn't have any SCVs at it. He doesn't even have full saturation of 2 bases. He stopped making workers at 39. Like this dude is very all in, and if you just would have had some, like, the thing is too is this guy plays super awkward. So this game, if you would have gone Ling Bane Hydra, I would have said normally what I tell people to do for a standard Ling Bane Hydra would be make like 20 Hydras and stop. But because this guy is still making BCs, he didn't make 1 and stop. He didn't harass you. He's actually all in as fuck, and he has still made BC, 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 no third, BC, BC, BC. Like, he's just making, and he's made 3 fucking starports. Like, this dude's build is, it's like a hybrid. This is what you would call, like, Mech. Whenever you play against a hybrid, you kind of just want to, like, pick and choose what you think makes logical sense. And if you're going to go Hydras, it would make logical sense to maybe get more than, like, 20 Hydras. Because, again, like, 20 is, like, standard for, like, standard Marine tank medevac type shit. But if it's 3 BCs, I would say maybe go to, like, 30 Hydras, maybe, like, 35, and then fill in the rest with Lingbane. So you'd have a smaller Lingbane army and a lot bigger of a Hydra army, but it makes sense because the supporting army to the Terran bio, which is smaller, is battlecruiser, and the reason why the bio army is smaller is because these battlecruisers are insanely fucking expensive. So like this Terran, like this, look at this Terran bio army. He has 24 Marines in total. He has 6 Marauders in total in this push right now. That is not a very big army. If you had like 20 Banes and like 30 Lings and like 35 Hydras, 30 Bane, like 30 Lings and like 25, 30 Lings, like 25 Bane would be enough to break the majority of this bio, I would say. You'd break down the majority of it. And that's not even that big of an investment for Zerg. That's a tiny ass investment for Zerg. That's a pretty small clump of Lingbane. So if you were to say overemphasize, like if you were going for Lingbane Hydra here, let's just say you only had like 16 Hydras, but you also had like 80 Lings and like 50 Banes. Like you would just fucking dominate the ground army, but then you would not have nearly enough to deal with the BCs. You would have that problem where BCs would run over your Hydras. And they might have to teleport away, but he would actually win the fight because his air army wouldn't die, and he would reset your entire Hydra army, which is the more expensive side of your army anyways. Does that make sense? So
yeah, I think I've been in situations where the ground is fine and then a bunch of BCs show up.
Yeah. So just do it. Just do a 6-minute scout for sure with your overseer. And most of the time, this is very obscure, what the Terran's doing right now. Most of the time, they won't do shit like this. It'll mostly be standard. It'll usually just be like, the biggest question you'll have to answer is it 2 base all in? Or is it 3 base harass timing attack bullshit? Yeah. That's usually what'll have to be answered. But if you scout someone like this who's like, wow, this guy's going double starport battlecruiser and a 4 racks with a medevac producing starport as well and a factory. Like, this build is high fucking production with low economy. And I would say, how would you deal with this high production? And you go, oh, he's got BCs and he's got the ability to make 2 at a time. So how about I just increase my Hydra count? Just add more to it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Normally, you should know around 20 is great for standard play. So maybe let's double that just because he's going extra air. So maybe I'll go to like 30, 40 Hydras. Somewhere in there. That's fine. And like, I'm not going to lie, like 35 Hydras would fucking destroy 3 BCs. Especially if you had a Carapace upgrade. And he did not have a... or rather, if you were going like Lingbane for like melee Carapace. If you had like a Carapace upgrade on those Hydras too, you would destroy these BCs.
Yeah, because I would get double levers for...
Yeah, because you would have gone back to Lingbane as soon as you saw those barracks start after the 1-1-1.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, it's fine. Just... That doesn't have to be thought about too much. And even if you fuck it up the first time, even if you were playing standard on like 5 bases and you went Lingbane Hydra and you went for like that thing I said where it was like 80 Lings and like 40 Banes and you fucking destroy his ground army. But all of his air units kill all your Hydras, like the 15 or like 12 Hydras or something that you had. And then he teleports away after you weaken the BCs with Hydra Queen and Spore or whatever. But he kills all of your Hydras. I would say still that's okay because... you have a way better economy, and now that you know, oh shit, well, I ran his ass over super hard on the ground, but he has BCs. How about now I start going back into more Hydras, or I make like Corruptor now, or whatever the fuck you want to do. You just make a reaction to going, well, the only thing that's still threatening from him is BCs. And you could go back into that same thing we talked about last game, where then, if you have control of the game, cycle it right back in the playstyle of, don't let him expand anymore. Don't try to kill his existing bases as much, but don't let him take new bases. And if you have control of the game and you can prevent him from taking more economy, you just win the game. That is literally the best way to play Legacy of the Void is economy control. If you have the advantage and you just don't throw the advantage away by taking bad fights, and instead you just never let your opponent have expansions, you make them always have to take bad fights against you because they always have to leave the safety of their base and fight in the open, which is what Zerg wants. It's really what anyone wants as any race, really, if you have the advantage of the game, like the control of the game right now. Because every second they wait, you're mining more than they do. So they have to go now, and every second they don't go, they just don't get to mine new bases. So I mean, they're falling behind every second, and then if they take a fight, they're just gonna take bad fights, because you're not taking fights against their base where they have the advantage. You're taking fights in the open when you have the advantage as well. Like, all the advantages are in your court if you just make them come to their new expansions and then die there. That's always in your advantage.
So regardless of whether it's like mech or bio or hybrid or whatever, like the game plan is still essentially the same. Like,
yeah, it's still let them expand. Always. And the only time you can ever really kind of break that and like push further in is if you dominate their army and you just have this commanding fucking lead where you're like, wow, okay, you just tried to take it fourth and I just ran you over and I still have a maxed army. Like, okay, you're dead now. Or if you have Swarm Host against like Mech, and let's say he's not trying to take a fourth base yet, or like a third or whatever, and you're like, well, I have a wave of Swarm Host ready to go. I wouldn't tell you, just wait until he tries to expand and then use it. Just fucking use it whenever it's up, and just keep breaking him down. So if he tries to take an expansion, obviously you can use it on the expansion. If he doesn't and he's just waiting, he's waiting, just keep making him lose a tank here and there, or like a Thor, or like 3 Hellions every time a wave of Locusts goes in. Kill a building. Like, just keep fucking him over. Like, keep slowly chipping away at his ass with Swarmhost every time it's up. And that's, or Broodlord, same thing. Like, if you can siege him, then obviously siege him, that's fine. But if you can't siege him and you just like maxed out, try to kill his expansions. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, man. Do you have any? And at this point now, honestly, this game you're pretty fucking dead. Like, it doesn't end right now, but you should die here because your composition is.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah. I'll say this: the only reason why it doesn't end here is because your economy was way better than his, and this guy is so ridiculously all in. Compositionally, he outplayed you like crazy, but macro, you outplayed the shit out of him, which is the only reason why you're still in the game. But I mean, yeah, the only thing you can really do from here is use the units you have, which is not great.
I don't remember what happened, and I don't. But it's something along the lines of, I get lucky and somehow survive this.
Yeah, like the way I could explain this if I was watching this is I would say.
But it was a complete mess.
Yeah, I would say you're a stronger player than this guy. It's just that he meted you and you got fucked. Because the fact that he doesn't kill you right now, it proves that you're a stronger player than him. Because in a standard game, if this kind of a situation happened where you just got completely fucking like blindsided by, oh fuck, what, you have bio, you should just be dead already.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have any other questions about anything?
Yeah, whatever. No, not really. I mean, well, I certainly have more questions, but I mean, I will return with those another day.
Okay.
I guess.
All right, man.
Because I think my head is full of information already.
All right.
Oh, so maybe I can ask one final thing.
Sure.
Which is kind of not really matchup specific, but sort of StarCraft in general. Like, what's the best way, do you think, to practice? Sort of.
Okay, so
keeping in mind I have a little bit of limited time. So what I do is I play ladder.
Yeah, no, I think playing ladder is fine. I think the best way you can improve yourself at StarCraft, though, overall, is make sure you start using the timer in the game as a resource to learn from. I tell everybody to do this because I think it's really useful about making what you do actually make sense. Because each game, whether you win or lose, you should not rate based on a win or a loss if that was a good or a bad game. You should actually rate if a game was a good or a bad game off of the timer, because you might play against someone who's really good that you lose to, and you might play against someone who's really bad that you beat compared to how you play, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're playing better or worse. But if you use the timer and you scale your build off of the timer, that is how you can tell if you're playing good or bad opposed to your average. And the best way to do that would be you could use like a spreadsheet or like a notepad, and all I want you to do is for up to like 10 minutes in the game, literally every game, if it's like a standard game that's not obscure and unique where it's like, oh, I'm getting all in, obviously those don't count because it's totally different, where it's like, oh, he's proxy 4xing me. But if it's a standard game and you're doing your standard build, do things like, but I don't even think you have that much of a problem with macro, but still either way, like this can help you with things where like you check like your supply and your worker count each minute of the game just to make sure your build's on point. You could also add in scout timers. You could also add in attack timings where like, let's just for you where it's like, okay, so this game I scouted at, I'm supposed to scout at 6 minutes. When did I actually scout? I scouted at 7:15 or whatever. Yeah. Just write those down, commit those. So like it makes more of emphasis to be like, okay, well, that's fucking super late. What I have seen if I scouted at 6 minutes, and it teaches you what to look for. So you start making that more of a good habit to like scout at the right time every time. And then also every time you max out, when you're like your average max is, whatever that is, it should be, honestly, if you're playing standard, between 8 and 9 minutes. For like Ling Bane Hydra stuff. If you're playing that style, you should be like, okay, well, as soon as I max, how long does it take me before I actually have a game plan to like go do something with it? Like, how long does it take me to like hit his 4th base or set up an attack on his base at all? Like, how long do I sit here before I do something? And try to definitely like commit that to memory too and be like, okay, well, this game it took me 55 seconds to move out. The next game it took me 15 seconds. Like, it should be doing it. Like, you should be, as soon as you max, you should be going, like doing shit with your army.
Like the first game where there was like one minute of noodling.
Exactly. Like that kind of shit's important, and you can definitely like commit those to memory to be like, okay, well, like it'll start turning into a situation where you go, every time I'm in a new game and I max, I'm in that same position I was in before, where I've looked at it like the last 7 times now, where I go, okay, well, I wasted a bunch of time there, I wasted a bunch of time here, I wasted a bunch of time there. The next time you get into it, it'll start like triggering your brain to be like, okay, I'm there again right now. I'm in the game. I don't know what's going on because I can't see the replay, but I'm in the game. There's fog of war or whatever, but I know I need to do something here. So let's go be assertive about it. Let's go scout and go get a game plan. Like, let's make sure I don't waste a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. If you do that, it's going to definitely help you be assertive about how you actually do shit on the map. And things like that will give you more of an emphasis to be like, okay, let's make sure I get scouts and reads on the game, so I'm not wasting time, and to just play more efficiently over time. The more you commit that to memory, the more it makes like automated reflexes out of you. It becomes habits where you think about it so much that it's just like it becomes unacceptable for you, where you're maxed out and you sit there and you sit there and you sit there. It becomes unacceptable for you where 6 minutes hits the game and you're like, where the fuck is my scout? I need to scout like now. What am I doing? Do it. Like, it becomes your standard. So that'd probably be a good thing you could do. Like, you can use it not only on your macro to keep pushing your macro further and further, but you can also do it on your scout timings and also on like your
ViBE,
your move outs
so busy
with the in-game stuff. All right.
Awesome.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you very much.
Dude, thank you.
Really good.
Yeah, good lesson, man. That was good shit. We'll reconvene another time, and dude, I wish you the best of luck. And yeah, I mean, your macro, I like it. There wasn't a ton of emphasis on your macro this game, like to just clean it up, because overall your standard play is pretty good. So keep that up and add in other elements to it, while just try to maintain not fucking up your macro while you add in these other things like your scouts and shit like that. Which is why you still should watch your macro, because some people overemphasis whenever they add in new things to their play, they kind of drop the previous aspects of their play. So don't neglect that. And yeah, man, I could see you definitely having a lot of success here.
Thank you very much. Have a good stream.
Yo, thank you, man. Have a good day yourself. And
go to bed.
Yeah. All right, take it easy, man. Much love.
Bye bye.
All right, guys, that has been a coaching lesson. Boom, in the bag. Hell yeah, boys. Oh my god. This is our boy Tesked. I think I've done a replay analysis for him, or maybe I coached him before. I know his name, but yeah, good shit. He did really well. If you guys liked it though, again, this has been a diamond level lesson. I could definitely see this dude getting masters though. I think he said he was diamond 1 and he got demoted to diamond 2. 100% I could see this dude getting masters. This macro is pretty solid overall. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys might have learned something. But thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, go check out more videos. There's a ton of them all over the place. A ton of them. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, good luck. Take it easy. And yeah, have fun. Have a good time. Peace, guys. Much love.